Mr. President, let me begin by congratulating you, your mission and your country on your election as President of the Human Rights Council for 2024. I take this opportunity to wish you a successful tenure as you steer the work of this august body and to assure you of my delegation's support throughout your term of office. Mr. President, I wish to highlight some of the interventions which my government has made in the promotion and protection of human rights. In the ongoing pursuit of our legal reforms, several pertinent pieces of legislation have been enacted in the past year to fortify the realization of human rights in the country, notably the Children's Amendment Act, Prisons and Correctional Service Act, Electoral Amendment Act, and Labor Amendment Act are significant milestones in our legislative landscape, aimed at addressing critical issues concerning the welfare and protection of our people. These legislative endeavors underscore our unwavering commitment to advancing human rights, promoting social justice, and strengthening democratic institutions in Zimbabwe. On the death penalty, Zimbabwe has maintained a de facto moratorium since July 2005 and has taken progressive action towards its abolition, including extensive nationwide consultations. A bill to abolish the death penalty is currently before Parliament. Mr. President, my government continues to work towards the progressive realization of socio-economic and cultural rights. The ongoing industrial capacity utilization through a supportive policy framework has resulted in tangible competitiveness of the local industry, evidenced by a notable growth in manufactured exports and imports substitution effects. In addition, there is a notable growth in the hard goods and intermediate manufacturing sectors. Zimbabwe's highly diversified mining sector continues to register growth, contributing to positive changes in livelihoods through the increased production of various valuable minerals. Despite difficulties in the operating environment, the mining sector has remained resilient with a potential to contribute to sustainable economic growth and development through beneficiation. This approach is aimed at value addition to mineral resources and thereby maximizing benefits in the mining sector. Mr. President, climate change remains a real global challenge, and a country like mine, which relies on agriculture as one of its main economic activities, is not spared from the debilitating effects of this phenomenon. In the last decade or more, my country has been a victim of recurrent erratic rainfall patterns, El Ninos, cyclones, and tropical storms due to global warming, all of which have heavily impacted on the lives and livelihoods of 70% of our population, which depends directly or indirectly on agriculture. My government's mitigatory interventions, which include climate-proof agricultural models, construction of dams and drilling of boreholes countrywide to support irrigation, and the provision of government-guaranteed financing for agriculture at concessionary rates have all contributed an average growth rate of 7% in the country's agricultural sector over the past 4 years. However, the harsh effects of climate change continue to militate against the projected economic performance. We therefore support continued engagements within the Council under the interactive dialogue on the report of the High Commissioner on climate change and similar mechanisms. The Council should continue to add its voice to the global discourse on the need for concerted efforts and international cooperation in the fight against climate change. Mr. President, despite positive strides towards economic development and empowerment of its people by my government, the illegal unilateral coercive measures imposed by some Western countries continue to hinder the government's inclusive policies and programs to ensure the full enjoyment of human rights and broader implementation of the Sustainable Development Goals. The negative impact of the unilateral coercive measures on the realization of our right to development has been exacerbated by their extraterritorial application and expanding use of secondary sanctions, civil and criminal penalties against those entities that cooperate with companies and individuals targeted by primary sanctions. In calling for their immediate and unconditional removal, my government strongly asserts that the unwarranted unilateral coercive measures violate the sovereignty of states and constitute direct interference in the internal affairs of my country. My government therefore urges the Human Rights Council to join our repeated calls for the urgent removal of these unilateral coercive measures. We applaud the work of the Special Rapporteur on the negative impact of unilateral coercive measures on the enjoyment of human rights, for continuously advocating for greater global attention on the devastating impact of these intrusive measures on targeted countries. Mr. President, while the Human Rights 75 event last December was dubbed a success, its true success will be measured by our decisive action to make the spirit and letter of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights a reality for all people, regardless of race, sex, color, or creed. We are deeply concerned by the sad and tragic developments in the occupied Palestinian territories, where the basic rights to life and freedom continue to be a distant reality for many innocent women, children, and men. We add our voice to the call for an immediate cessation of hostilities between Israel and Hamas, an upsurge in humanitarian aid, a prison swap, and a lasting solution to the Palestinian problem, in line with the agreed position of a two-state solution according to the pre-1967 borders. In conclusion, my delegation reaffirms Zimbabwe's commitment to the advancement, promotion, and protection of human rights of its people and fulfillment of its international obligations in line with the global human rights agenda. To this end, we pledge our continued cooperation with the Human Rights Council and its mechanisms, including through hosting visits by special procedures mandate holders. We look forward to hosting experts on the Working Group on Discrimination Against Women and Girls and the Special Rapporteur on Violence Against Women and Girls and its causes and consequences. I thank you, Mr. President.